Hi guys, how are you doing? I hope you're all well. If you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jasmine. I'm a practicing social worker and I share my experiences, both social work and non-social work related on the channel. Go ahead and subscribe and show your support that way. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about some truths you may experience if you do decide to become a social worker. Without further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing that I'm going to mention is it's really hard work. It's very emotionally taxing. So regardless of what's happening for you, you constantly have to put your own things aside so you can be there for whoever the client is that you're working with. Most of the people that you will see are in vulnerable situations. You constantly have to present, like you're okay kind of thing so you can support them. This is especially relevant if you're in like a counseling type of role or like a case management type of role where you have a lot of direct work involved. The next one is there's a lot of jobs available in social work. When I finished uni, I didn't really struggle to find work. I think if you struggle to find work, then that's probably more to do with the experience that you have than the availability of work, because there's just most of the time there's quite a bit on offer and there's a lot of options that you can pick from. This has been the case for me. I live in Australia. I don't know what it's like in other countries, but in Australia it's been pretty easy to find work. My next point is it's such a broad field. There's so many different fields that you can get into regarding social work, which ties into my first point actually, because there's so many fields, there's more options around what you can do and stuff like that. But you can get into, like, if you can work with a government or non-government organization. If we want to talk specifically about fields you could get into, you could work with children. In working with children, it could be children who have dealt with different kinds of trauma like sexual assault. It could be children who have been diagnosed with cancer. It could be children in foster care, and that's only children. There's like major fields that you can explore only with children. And then you can do women. If you decide to do women, then you can do domestic violence, you could do sexual assault, you could do there's just quite a few options. I think I have a video talking about the fields in social work, so I will link it in the description box below so you guys can check that out. The next thing that I would say is you start to become very empathic. If someone behaves a certain way, you're always like, oh, why may they have done that? You're less judgmental in general, I feel. That's been something that I've experienced myself. I think generally, prior to me becoming a social worker, if I see certain things, I just take it for face value, and it's like, why is this person being an idiot and why are they doing this and that? But once you've dealt with so many people's histories and people's problems and stuff like that, you start to become more empathic. So when you see that there's an issue happening somewhere, you don't jump into conclusion and say this person is or whatever. You just become more empathic and understanding as to why they may behave the way they may have behaved and stuff like that. Another thing that might happen for you is you might try to heal yourself. Like, I do it, so I'm speaking for myself here. I think sometimes when especially if you do like a counseling role and stuff, you almost try to provide counseling to yourself when you're having difficulty, which is terrible. Like, you need to go and see a social worker or a counselor or a psychologist or whatever to get that support. But because you have the theoretical knowledge, sometimes you think that you can work on yourself, but generally you can't. So another truth I would like to mention, this is more regarding whilst you're still going to university. Here in Australia, we were required to do 1,000 hours of work placement. That is so taxing because you're doing paid work and then you're doing placement in addition to that, and you're still doing uni, so you're handing in assignments and stuff like that. That was really difficult. That's something that's part of the course, so that's something to be aware of. I'm not sure what it's like in America and stuff like that, but I'm sure you guys have to do some kind of work experience as well. It's really helpful though, because when you come out, you have a bit of experience with you and you're not just coming in with like theoretical knowledge. You come out with some practical skills as well, which is always beneficial, but it's really taxing. The last thing that I would mention is it may bring up, practicing social work may bring up your own trauma. If you've been through trauma as a child and stuff like that, and you start seeing a client that may have experienced similar things that you may have experienced when you were younger, or in a few years back or whatever, and if you haven't worked through it, it might bring it up and it might be really difficult for you to manage. So if you're thinking of becoming a social worker and you've been through some difficulties in your life that you are aware of, make sure you get them looked at, make sure you get therapy, do all that before you start supporting other people. Sometimes you do not realize the impact of that trauma on you. You may be going fine, everything might be okay, until you start practicing social work and you're like, oh my god, like, I'm actually not okay. Like, I didn't even realize that this particular thing had this much of an impact on me. And if that comes up, just make sure you get the support that you need. So yeah, those were some truths about being a social worker. If there's anything that you have experienced that I didn't share, make sure you leave it in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care, guys. Bye.